How do you know if it is linear, quadratic, or exponential? All right, so we know that if it's linear, the first difference is a constant, whether that's plus or minus some number. The second number minus the first number, which is 4. So what I'm saying is, like, to go from here to here, I should be adding 4. So we're going to check that. So we have 8 plus 4 is 12 plus 4, 16. Now we're going to do the same thing for y because they both need to be constant. So second number minus the first number, so plus 3. If that's true, so 0 plus 3 is 3, plus 3 is 6, plus 3 is 9. So if you have the first difference is constant for both, then it is linear. So this one is actually linear, and I'm just going to write that down so that you can keep track of what's what. So for it to be linear, the first difference is constant, that's y, given the change in x is also constant. If it's exponential, it's y2 divided by y1. So we're going to go 4 divided by 2, which is 2. Is it true that from here to here, here to here, I'm multiplying 2 every time? So it's 2 times 2, 4, times 2, 8, times 2, 16. Oh, so this is exponential. All right, so exponential is a constant y ratio, and a ratio just means you're multiplying, given the change in x is also constant. Okay, so all of these have to go, like, the change for x has to be the same. Now, they should never trick you, so they're always going to give you the change in x being the same, but I'm just, like, being politically correct. All right, the change in x has to be the same, like, I'm adding 1 each time, I'm adding 1 each y. I don't think they're going to trick you. So really what we care about is the y. If you're multiplying to get to the next number, it's exponential. If you're adding to get to the next number the first time, it's linear. So now I'm going to look at quadratic. Quadratic is kind of like linear, it's just one additional step. So this must be quadratic. And quadratic says that the second difference, so when we did linear, we did the first difference. Quadratic is the second difference is constant, given the change in x is also constant. This is a listening check. Color in the Q in quadratic. Okay, so what does that mean? It means you find the first difference. Okay, so again, I talk about the change in x is always going to be constant. I don't think they're going to trick you. So from here to here, I'm adding 1, adding 1, adding 1. For it to be quadratic, your second difference has to be that. So find the difference in the y. So 20 minus 5 is 15. So I am adding 15 from here to here. Find out what you're doing here, find out what you're doing here. So 45 minus 20. I'm adding 25. Then 80 minus 45. Adding 35. Okay, now it says the second difference is constant. So that's the first difference, the first time you do it. Now I got to do it again. Okay, so from 15 to 25, what am I doing? From 25 to 35, what am I doing? So 25 minus 15, I'm adding 10. And then 35 minus 25, I'm adding 10. So you see this? The second difference. The second time I do it, it's the same. So it's quadratic when that happens. Now they might ask you from a table to write an equation. So what do you do? Well, if you're linear, you need what equation? So go to your formula sheet, go look for anything linear that you can find. Boom, linear. I have all of these equations. I'm going to look at this first one, y equals mx plus b. So you write that down. Y equals mx plus b. Okay, y equals mx plus b. What is m again? This is your slope. What's b again? Your y-intercept. Okay. Anytime you have a formula, you're going to copy it down with boxes. So y equals box for my slope, x plus box. Actually, I'm just going to put a box around this whole thing. All right, so how do I find my slope? My slope is my change. Oh, I guess I don't even have to memorize that because that's in a formula sheet. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And anytime I have one of those, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. I want a box minus box over box minus box. All right. And you can pick any change. So label, let's make this x1, x2, which makes this y1, y2. So y2 is 3, minus y1 is 0, x2 is 8, minus x1 is 4. 3 minus 0 is 3, 8 minus 4 is 4, so 3 over 4 is my slope. So where do I put that number? Right over here. And then my b is my y-intercept. What do you know about your y-intercept? What has to be 0? X has to be 0. So I don't see x is equal to 0 here, so we need to find when x is equal to 0, which means right now we have 4, so we need to go like this until we find 0. So how am I going from here to here? I'm adding 4. So how do I go this way? I subtract 4. So if I go this way, if I'm adding 4 to get to 8, I subtract 4 to get to 4. So I subtract 4. So subtract 4, I'll get down to 0. So I'll get down to a 0. From here, I'm adding 3 to get to each number. So to get backwards, I'm subtracting 3. So here I'm going to subtract 3, and I'm going to get negative 3. And that gives me when x equals 0, y is equal to negative 3.
This is a listening check. Color in the negative 3 in the box.
And now I've written my equation. Okay. How do you write an equation from a table for an exponential function? You start off by writing your equation for an exponential function, exponential equation, right here. So you write it down. Y equals a b x. A is what? Initial. And what's always initial? When x is equal to 0. B is your growth or your decay. And x is x. So again, you copy it down with just boxes. So you have y equals box, parentheses, box to the power of x. All right, what's my initial when x is 0? Oh, look, that's already there. When x is 0, y is equal to 2. How about my growth and decay? How do I find that? Like, how do I find how it's growing? Well, that's your, how it's growing each time is what? Multiplying it by 2. So you're growing by 2. So this is going to be 2 because that's my growth. Okay, so it's actually growing by 2. All right, for quadratic, they're not going to have you do really extensive ones. So I'm just going to show you like an easy one. Like this would be an easy one that they would give you. So again, you need to write down the formula. If you write down the equation for quadratic, somewhere here. So right here, in standard form, write it down.
This is a listening check. Color in the 80 in the table.
It says y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. A is your second difference divided by 2. C is your y-intercept. And b you have to work out. Okay. So given that information, I go with my boxes. Y equals box x squared plus box bx, and then this last one is a box plus c. Okay, so to find what goes there, second difference. So what's my second difference? 10 divided by 2, which will give me what? 5. So this is 10 divided by 2. This is my y-intercept. So my y-intercept, remember, is where x is equal to 0. I don't see it, which means I have to go back 1. So if I'm going up 1, so if this is plus 1.
This is a listening check. Color in x in the table.
To go backwards, I'll be subtracting 1. So going this way, 1 more will give me 0. Okay. On this one, because I'm not moving in a constant rate, I have to do it from the second difference. Okay, so because the second difference, I'm adding 10. To go back 1, I would do what? Subtract 10. Okay, so now you go up to that number. So this would be 25 minus 10 is 15. So this has to be 15 minus 10 is going to give me the number that would have been here. 15 minus 10, which would be 5. So that would have been plus 5 right here. But now Going to the top row, 80 minus 35 is that minus 25 is that minus 15 is that. So this minus this will give me what I'm looking for, which would be 0. Okay, so when x is 0, y is also 0. Now don't freak out. I'm just showing you. They're probably not going to ask you, okay? So don't freak out. I'm just showing you. Once I've shown you how to get A, how to get C, the way you get B is you write down the equations. Y equals 5x squared plus bx, because I know C is 0. Then what you do is you're going to just pick in a value for x and y. So let me pick this one. X is 1, y is 5. So y is 5. X is 1.
This is a listening check. Put a box around example 3.
So everywhere I see x, I put 1. And then work this out. So 5 equals 1 squared is 1 times 5 is 5. 1 times b is b. Take this to the other side. So it's going to be subtract 5. So 5 minus 5 is 0. And that's how I get the b. Okay, but this is an extra step that I don't think they're going to ask you to do. But that's just how you do it if you need to know. If they give you a calculator, of course, stat edit is the fastest way.
We'll continue the last 3 questions in the next video. Let's practice.